Welcome back, Sebastian here. Time for my preview for the 2024 Hungarian Grand Prix. So first, taking a look at last year's race, won of course by Max Verstappen with Lando Norris in second and the other Red Bull of Sergio Perez in third. Some notable moments from that weekend, it was a Lewis Hamilton pole, his first since 2021. You had an Alpine double DNF on the opening lap after, of course, they double DNF'd in the British Grand Prix previously. Of course, for Alpine, this one was almost worse as the two drivers basically came together on the opening lap. And of course, it was again Max Verstappen domination, winning that race by 33 seconds. Now, let's take a look at the track for this year's Hungarian Grand Prix. Again, it is the Hungaroring, as it's been every edition of this Grand Prix. 4.381 kilometers. We're expected to have 70 laps on Sunday, and the race lap record is a 1:16.627 set by Lewis Hamilton in 2020. Now, the Hungaroring itself, it's a very tight, very twisty track where overtaking is quite limited. Your best spots to make a move are turn 1 and in turn 4. Through the rest of sector 2, you have these twisty left-right medium speed corners, again not making an overtake there. And then of course you have turn 12, but that straight is really too short to really make a move. It's generally considered to be a high downforce circuit. In terms of average lap speed, it's about the third slowest on the calendar, just better than Monaco and Singapore, which is part of the reason why it has its nickname of Monaco without walls. So, moving on to the schedule for this weekend, looks like it's going to be a very, very hot weekend. Doesn't look like there's going to be any rain, so it'll be very interesting to see how the cars perform. So, first, Formula 2 free practice 11:05 in the morning on Friday, FP1 1:30 in the afternoon, F2 qualifying 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and then FP2 5 in the evening. The weather for that FP2 session on Friday, 32 degrees and sunny, so quite a hot one there. Saturday, Formula 1 FP3 12:30 p.m., Formula 2 sprint race 2:15 in the afternoon, and then qualifying 4 p.m. local time. Weather for qualifying 29 degrees, cloudy with perhaps some sun, so a little bit cooler than Friday and Sunday. Moving on to Sunday, the Formula 2 feature race 10:05 in the morning, with the Grand Prix at 3 p.m. sharp, and the expected weather for that Grand Prix 31 degrees and sunny. So it looks like this year's Hungarian Grand Prix is going to be one of the hottest Grand Prix of the year. It will definitely put the drivers under quite a bit of physical stress, the engines, the brakes, and all of that. So I would expect to see a couple more retirements than we've usually had. And given the number of Grand Prix that we've had this year without any mechanical DNFs, just because of how reliability has developed so much over the last couple of years, I do think we'll see a couple DNFs, but not like an absolutely massive amount like we saw at, for example, the 2020 Austrian Grand Prix. Now, looking at the tire compounds for this weekend, soft C5, medium C4, and hard C3. Soft is 3 tires in the Pirelli range, same as what you get at Monaco, same as what you get in Austria. So complete opposite of Silverstone, last time out, where you have the 3 hardest compounds. Now, getting on to some news before we move on to predictions and looking at the qualifying data. So it was announced just before I started recording this video, Kevin Magnussen will be leaving the Haas team at the end of 2024. Honestly, not a big surprise, especially with the rumors that he's going to be replaced with Esteban Ocon, which I think, for Haas, pretty good pickup. For Magnussen, of course, don't think he's really going to be continuing his F1 journey, his F1 career after this, unless some team gets especially desperate with how things play out towards the end of the season. But based on how things are looking right now, this is probably the end for him. So, qualifying data for this track, best 3 drivers and worst 3 drivers in qualifying in terms of percentage of times they've out-qualified their teammate at this track. Best, Lando Norris, 100%. He's out-qualified his teammate all 6 times that he's been to this track, so definitely look out for him for pole position. Number 2, Nico Hülkenberg, 90%. Again, he's been kind of a star of F1 the last couple weekends, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do at one of his happy hunting grounds. And number 3, Max Verstappen, 89%. Very, very good number, and of course it seems like he is good everywhere. Worst 3 drivers. Unfortunately for Sergio Perez, a guy who definitely needs to have a good weekend this weekend in Hungary, next time in Belgium. This is definitely one of his weaker tracks. 31% for him. Number 2, Sonoda, 33%, and quite a surprise for me, Charles Leclerc also 33%. So Leclerc, a guy who's seen as one of the best qualifiers on the grid. This is definitely one of his weaker tracks, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes on Saturday this year. Now, finishing up with some predictions for the Grand Prix. I think it'll be a very, very tough one to predict. I think it's really going to be a fight between Red Bull, Mercedes, and McLaren. In theory, the characteristics of the Ferrari mean that it should be pretty strong here. Low speed corners, similar to Monaco. But that being said, with how their recent upgrades, or I guess downgrades, have gone for them in the last couple of weeks, they've really kind of fallen to being that 4th team and never really being in a fight for either the win or pole position. So that really kind of removes them from that conversation. For both McLaren and Mercedes, I think it'll be tight between the 2 of them. Both of them generally struggle with drag, although I do feel like the Mercedes has been a bit better with that recently. And again, nice mix of medium speed corners as well as some slow speed corners as well. For Red Bull, they generally seem to be on the back foot, especially with tire wear last couple weekends. But and we know that their strength is generally aero efficiency, which is generally not as much of an advantage here as it is on other tracks. But that means that Verstappen has a very, very good record here, so I think it'll be close. So I think closing off, I think for predictions, I think Red Bull bringing upgrades this weekend. I'm going to go with a Verstappen win. And we just know that even when the car is not the best, we know he's there or thereabouts. So I think predict a Verstappen win, but I think it'll be very, very close. P2, I'm going to go with Lando Norris. And P3, I'm going to go with Lewis Hamilton. Mercedes have definitely been on better form. And this is one of Hamilton's better tracks, despite the fact that he's not on this list here for best at this track. I do believe he has a record 8 or is it 9 pole positions at this track as well. So again, very, very good at this track historically, Lewis Hamilton is. So there you go. There's my predictions for the 2024 Hungarian Grand Prix. Hope you guys enjoyed the video preview. I'll see you guys after F2 and F1 qualifying. Goodbye.